This is just a sample of the audiobook. To get the complete audiobook, access the link posted in the first comment.
This is not your average college study guide. Unlike the titles next to it on the shelf, none of the advice presented here was devised by professors or self-proclaimed academic skills experts. I promise that you won't find any mention of the Cornell note-taking method, mental map diagrams, or any other optimal learning technique crafted in an office or laboratory, environments far removed from the realities of typical college life. Instead, this book reveals for the first time the study habits used by real straight-A college students. All of the advice that follows was distilled from a series of interviews I conducted with a large group of top-scoring undergraduates. These participants were drawn predominantly from the Phi Beta Kappa rolls of some of the country's most rigorous colleges and universities, including Harvard, Princeton, Yale, Dartmouth, Brown, Columbia, Duke, Amherst, and Skidmore. And they were carefully chosen to represent a wide variety of academic concentrations. In each interview, I asked the student to detail his or her study habits. The questions ranged from the general, how do you defeat the urge to procrastinate, to the specific, what techniques or systems do you use to locate and organize sources for a research paper? If the questionnaire revealed the student to be a grind, someone who earns high grades simply by studying an excessive amount, I discarded the responses. I was interested only in students who improved their grades through smarter, more efficient study skills, not through longer hours and more painful study sessions. How did I know such students existed? I am one of them. When I arrived as a freshman at Dartmouth College, I had no idea how to prepare for exams or write college-level papers. Like most students, I left high school believing that to study meant to reread your class notes and assignments as many times as possible, and that paper writing required you to sit down in front of your computer and start typing until you finished. The problem, however, is that college is not high school. The material to be mastered is much more complicated, and the professors have higher expectations. In the college environment, simple brute force study methods can end up requiring a lot of time and causing a lot of pain. Nevertheless, most students still rely on them. And this is why they find themselves regularly pulling all-nighters and developing an antagonistic attitude toward their courses. The taxing effects and spotty success of these methods also underlie the common belief that only geniuses and grinds can score top grades. When I first entered college, I shared in these beliefs. But soon I became dubious. It didn't take long for me to decide that there had to be a better way to learn the material. The results of my studying using simple techniques varied widely. I'd spend all night hacking away at an essay and end up scoring a B-, or give what I thought was a frantic last-minute review for a quiz and score an A. I constantly felt like I was behind in my reading, and there always seemed to be new deadlines on the horizon that I had to scramble to meet. It was truly a chaotic existence. But when I looked around, all of my friends seemed to be having the same experience, and none of them seemed willing to question it. This didn't sit right with me. I wasn't content to work in long, painful stretches and then earn only slightly above average grades for my efforts. I wanted to be exceptional, and I wanted to achieve this without having to sacrifice sleep or my social life. To many students, such a goal may sound hopelessly hubristic. But I'm an optimist by nature, and observing the sorry state of my current study skills, I was convinced that I could do better. It took me most of my freshman year to construct, through repeated experimentation, a toolbox of sufficiently improved study habits, but once I had perfected them, the results were profound. Of the 36 courses I took between my sophomore and senior years of college, I scored exactly 1 A- and 35 perfect A's. The most stunning piece of this transformation, however, was how much less time I had to spend on studying. As my strategies became more refined, the hours required were reduced. By my senior year, it got to the point where, during finals periods, I would sometimes pretend to be heading off to the library just so I wouldn't demoralize my roommates who were preparing for yet another grim all-nighter. What was my secret? Efficiency. The simple truth is that the brute force techniques used by most students are incredibly inefficient. When it comes to exam preparation, passive review is not an effective way to learn complicated concepts. It's also mentally draining, which further diminishes the rate at which you can absorb and internalize information. For paper writing, this same problem holds. When you approach the task without proper preparation, it becomes incredibly tiring and you can end up spinning your wheels. After a while, even the formation of coherent sentences becomes difficult and time-intensive. In contrast, the techniques I came up with were so streamlined that I could learn more material than my classmates and actually spend less time studying. By eliminating stupid habits and wasted effort, I transformed exam prep and paper writing from a dreaded chore to a targeted activity.